Welcome back, folks. I am Jake Ellenbogen, and today we're going to be talking about something that I feel like is overdue. If you don't know me and you're new to this channel, you'll get to know me a little bit more based on my football thoughts with this video. So before we dive into what I want to talk about, just letting you guys know that today's sponsor is Cut. That is K-U-T-T. The Cut app is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's legal in 40-plus states. Cut has customizable odds tracking capabilities, an entire social network with group chats, user profiles, and rewards. All payments, no need for Venmo. Use our promo code BELIEVERAMS, that's B-L-E-A-V, RAMS, all one word, for a 10% welcome bonus. Don't forget the promo code K-U-T-T, CUT. Put your money where your mouth is. Okay, so today's video is basically talking about, I'm just addressing the elephant in the room. The Rams have the 19th overall pick, and I know a lot of you are talking about so-and-so going here and so-and-so going there, talking about what position the Rams are going to draft. And while I think best player available is important, I also don't want to say that best player available is the end-all, be-all. So I was having a nice conversation with Blaine Grisak via text. He is at Lucas Oil, or at least I think he's at Lucas Oil, but he's at the Combine. Okay, he's at the facility. He's been at the Combine, and he brought up a really good point. And, you know, I normally don't do entire videos based on a text message thread, but I kind of, it sparked something for me. I've always felt this way, but I feel like, you know, I really wanted to talk about it, and, you know, that's how it is, and I'm going to just go ahead and give my thoughts, as my iPad apparently wants to just be loud. Sorry about that, folks. Okay, so I'll put it this way, okay? I think at 19, you're better off taking a guy with first-round traits than a second-round guy. That is what Blaine texted me today. We were talking about Chop Robinson and Amarius Mims, you know, those two got mentioned up. And these guys have like elite level skill sets. They have like elite level measurables, but elite level skill sets. And it kind of resonated with me and just my thoughts that I've always felt about the draft. But I realized I don't think I ever put out videos on this. So let's talk about it. For the Rams, there are a lot of people that say, nope, we need to draft a corner. They're dismissive of anyone else's opinions. Basically be like, oh, you know, I think this guy would be a good fit. And then the comment section, maybe not even here, but Facebook or Twitter, whatever, is like, nope, we have to draft corner. We have to draft Cooper DeJean. Here's my deal, okay? My thing is, there are positions that you don't take in the first round based on the fact that positional value is not there, okay? It's not evident. Good example, right? I've been saying it before. Jackson Powers Johnson. I think he is a great center prospect. I'm excited to dive into the film further. But positional value-wise, it doesn't make any sense to take a center that high. You're not really saving a ton of money. He's going to be high, you know, one of the highest paid centers in the league. It's the same thing with tight end. If you take Brock Bowers at 5, it took me a little bit to realize this. Daniel Jeremiah had a nice point. Brock Bowers in his 5th year, with that 5th-year option's not a bargain. He's among the league leaders in pay for tight ends. That's why Sam Laporta's deal is so impressive. That's why getting a tight end after the first round that can play at a first-round level makes him even more valuable. So, led to me thinking, you hear it all the time, Rams need to draft this guy. Rams need to draft this guy. But, you know, really, I don't hear enough about an Amarius Mims. I'm not hearing enough about a Chop Robinson, a Jared Verse, guys like that. And look, I'm not saying specifically those guys. I'm saying guys with traits, okay, guys with tools. Are you telling me at pick 19, if you don't trade down, you don't trade up, you're telling me that you would focus on a position instead of a player? You would grab a second to third round talent in the first round if it meant taking care of a position and just push the elite level talent player away. I thought it was a great point Blaine made, because you're better off taking a guy with first round traits than a second round guy. Whether we want to admit it or not, guys may go in the first round, but first round talents, there's not 32 of them. There's not. Do you think Tim Tebow was a first round talent when the Broncos took him? No. You always have reaches. You always have guys that go in the first round where you're like, but you have guys that will fall into the teens when they're can't miss. And you sit there and you're like, how in the hell did Derwin James fall into the teens? And you sit there and you're like, how the hell did Aaron Donald fall to 13? And the reason they fall to 13, to 16, to 17, Christian Gonzalez is another one. Good Lord, what are we doing over here? The reason these guys fall is because teams prioritize need more than best player available more often than not. They prioritize positional need over best player available, over talent. I'm going to take the best corner available. Okay, well, the best corner available at 19 is probably the 30, I don't know. Like, it depends on if Kool-Aid McKinstry's there. Let's just say for the fun of it, he's the 32nd overall player, right? And you're sitting there, and the Rams already made a really nice move. They went out and they acquired Danielle Hunter in the offseason, or Brian Burns or Khalil Mack. So they have edge taken care of, right? But, right, this guy, okay, Dallas Turner or Jared Verse just falls right into your lap. And they go through, like, Dallas Turner just ran in the 4-4s. And, you know, let's just say they're widely regarded as a guy that's going to go in the top 10. And they fall into your lap at 19. Are you going to pass on the guy with elite traits so you can draft the 32nd overall player because he's a corner? That's the thing. That's what we need to discuss. That's the important point about this video. Well, Jake, I don't want to draft an offensive tackle because Alec Jackson will be back, right? And yeah, you're probably right, $4.8 million. I projected that, that he'd be back on, you know, the restricted free agent second round tender. So he will probably be back, right? And now we're hearing Joseph Noteboom. They're trying to figure out something that's fair to keep him on the roster. You got Rob Havenstein, right? So why would you draft a tackle? Well, I can tell you why you would draft a tackle. Because great left tackles in this league are hard to come by. That's a tough position. And there are guys that are playing that position all across the league that don't even have the traits to do it. There's not a lot of good ones. They're consistent. They're not dominant, but they're consistent. So you have guys like Donovan Smith who are starting for a Super Bowl champion Chiefs team, and he's not even that good. And I don't mean like he's not that good. Like, of course he's good. He plays in the NFL. But in the grand scheme of all the tackles, all the left tackles in the league, he's probably one of the bottom tiers, right? So brings me on my point. Doesn't matter about Alec Jackson. I'm not hating on Alec Jackson. If he wants to start this year, if they want to start him this year, I'm all for it. I like the guy. I've talked to him. I like him. What I will say, though, is that if a guy like a Marius Mims with all those tools and the body composition, and you're telling me that you're not going to pick him because a corner is a bigger need, and the corner's a 32nd overall player, and maybe Mims is the top 15, and maybe athletically he's top 10, and you're going to pick the corner, you're not understanding how this goes. See, history doesn't remember that you needed a corner. When you go back to Wikipedia or wherever, and you look up, because I know I've been there, everyone does it, If you're a football fan, you're psycho, 2 a.m., you can't sleep, just look up the 2006 NFL draft on Wikipedia. It hits like crack. I don't know what else to say. That's a joke. That's a joke. But my thing here is that, and I want to make this clear, is that when you go back and you look at those, like, oh, this team, the Raiders, they passed on Aaron Rodgers and they got, I forget the guy's name, Graves, I think it was. So they get that guy instead, and no one is going to remember that the Raiders had a need at offensive line. They're just going to be known. History will remember them as the team that passed on Aaron Rodgers. No one is going to remember that the Cincinnati Bengals needed a wide receiver, and so they took John Ross at number 9. They're just forever known as the team that didn't take Patrick Mahomes and basically cursed the rest of the AFC. That's the thing, guys. People don't remember that. Because here's the thing. When you go back and you look, like an Aaron Donald in 2014, and the Rams, they take Donald at 13. What do we always hear about Aaron Donald in the draft? What do we always hear? There's always some GM that thinks it's intelligent, that thinks it's smart, that thinks it's worth it to come out and say, well, we almost took Aaron Donald. Yeah, well, that's great. Almost doesn't count for anything. Almost doesn't win you the Super Bowl. Just ask the 49ers, right? Great, you almost drafted Aaron Donald. You didn't. You did not. You were the Lions and you took Eric Ebron, a tight end, so no positional value at the time, and you pass on a generational talent to potentially pair with Ndamukong Suh, which then the Rams won up to you and ended up doing that, and they went to the Super Bowl because of it. Well, not because of it, but with it. OBJ. The Giants actually had a need at defensive line, interior defensive line. They just lost Linval Joseph. He just went to the Vikings. So at the time, everyone, including myself, Aaron Donald, by the way, was my favorite prospect in that draft. Absolute favorite. I didn't know why he wasn't going 1. I really liked Clowney. I really liked Mack. I liked Bortles. Aaron Donald, to me, was a no-brainer. And I loved him because people slept on him because he was short. And I love the short kings. I am one. Maybe not a king, but I'm short. Think about that. Aaron Donald, to me, was a guy that could have gone number 1 overall. The Rams passed on him for Greg Robinson, okay? Because they passed on him for Greg Robinson, they had to pray that he would fall to 13. And do you know why they passed on him for Greg Robinson? Do you know why? Because here's the deal. If you're trying to make a comparison between Greg Robinson and Amarius Mims, you will fall short, and here's why. Amarius Mims can run block and pass protect. Amarius Mims has it. His issue are the injuries. His issue are the fact he's only started 8 games. Those are genuine concerns. Okay? That's fair. Greg Robinson wasn't a good pass protector in college. He wasn't. They drafted him because they basically were coerced into doing so. Oh, well, we don't have a left tackle of the future, Greg Robinson. Because of that, they rolled the dice and they got lucky, because if Aaron Donald wasn't drafted by the Rams, who knows if they'd have that Super Bowl. I don't think they would. So, it's just a reminder, this year, this season, draft season, if you're sitting there and you're focusing so much on positional need, don't. If you're going into comment sections and berating people because they're not picking a certain need, don't. Here's the deal. If you like a prospect and it makes some sense, you could actually make the argument the Rams could draft anyone at pick 19 except for a running back, and it would make total sense. If they drafted a quarterback, I wouldn't agree with it. I wouldn't be a fan of it necessarily unless it was Jaden Daniels. But it makes some sense because the argument is if you draft a quarterback, they take over for Stafford, who's 36 years old. Okay. Running back doesn't make any sense. You found the second best running back in the NFL in the 5th round. I would rather pay him than draft another running back. Then wide receiver. Say what you will about wide receiver, but if a guy like Odunze fell to 19, it makes sense. Atwell's a free agent after the season. So is Skoranek. Puka Nacua is long-term, right? But Cooper Kupp, up in the air. Could he have another injury-ridden season? Who knows? Hopefully not. I don't think so, but who knows? Demarcus Robinson signed a 1-year deal. That makes sense. Tight end. I wouldn't love the positional value, but if a guy like Brock Bowers falls to 19, that makes sense. Tyler Higbee tore his ACL. Hunter Long also had another season-ending injury. Might not even be on the roster by the... So they really only have Davis Allen. Left tackle. Well, I mean, when can you go wrong drafting a legit left tackle prospect? I mean, Greg Robinson couldn't pass protect, but when can you go wrong drafting a legit left tackle prospect at 19 that can pass protect and run block? Guard, Kevin Dotson's a free agent. Now, there's not a guard that I would take that high, but can make the argument, center, I wouldn't take Jackson Powers Johnson, but Coleman Shelton's a free agent. He opted out. Okay, then you look at defensive line. Aaron Donald. Every year we're hearing about retirement. Bobby Brown's a free agent next year. That's certainly a spot. Jerzon Newton, right? Then you have inside linebacker. Ernest Jones is a free agent next year. If they don't extend him, he's gone. So obviously they'll extend him, I think. But even still, getting him a running mate. Cornerback. Come on, do I really have to tell you? Safety. The point I'm making here is that the Rams really could draft anybody except for a running back. They could draft anybody, best player available at 19, and it wouldn't be a objectively bad pick. If you're getting the 10th overall player and he happens to play tight end at 19, you made your football team better. If you're getting a top 10 tackle or, top 10 player who happens to play tackle and may not be able to start right away, you're still making your football team better long haul, right? If you draft a quarterback who's supposed to go in the top 8 at 19, you're making your football team better. He can be your backup for the time being and eventually take over at the most important position in the league. Now, is that something I would do? No. But it's just a reminder that anything can happen this draft. We have no idea. Everyone can mock all they want till, to their heart's content. The Rams drafting Cooper DeJean, the Rams drafting Terrion Arnold, the Rams drafting Quinion Mitchell, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Nate Wiggins, all those corners. Latu, Verse, Turner, edge defenders. Do it all you want. End of the day, though, do not be surprised if they don't do that. Don't be surprised what the Rams do. That's the whole thing. Because the Rams they're not a cookie cutter organization like some weirdo Chargers fan tweeted out today. No. They're going to keep you on your toes. They're also going to keep everyone else on their toes. And we have no idea what they're doing in free agency. So the reason I wanted to say this is because I think when I'm talking, because I started doing the offensive tackles, I had people like, why are you trying to shove offensive tackles down our throat? I'm just starting with offensive tackles, which I will never do in the history of my draft, process ever again. It takes incredibly long. It can be a little boring. I'll never do it again. Promise. Normally I go quarterback, running back, tight end, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, offensive line, defensive line, inside linebacker, corner, edge, corner, safety. That's normally what I do. This year I decided to start with offensive line for God knows why. However, I'm just letting you know, I'm not doing it because I'm saying they need to draft an offensive lineman. This is a great class. You can get one in the second, third, But it's just a reminder that looking at this team, they wouldn't have Aaron Donald if they didn't go best player available. That was not a need. They had Kendall Langford. They had Michael Brockers. They didn't need Aaron Donald. So there you go. Those are my thoughts. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. I think really you can't go wrong with best player available. And I think this is one of those drafts where you can make the argument if there's not somebody there at 19 that has elite level traits, if you don't think they're going to fall. This is a draft I might even trade up in because I'm not overly blown away by the depth of this draft. I don't think it is a full draft. I think there's a lot of top-heavy positions. We talk about offensive tackle being one, guard when you get into day two. A lot of those guys are going to come off the board. Interior offensive line, we'll say. Wide receiver, it seems top-heavy. Running back, there's always a lot of running backs in every draft, it seems like. Quarterback, a little overrated, but very good quarterback class. Top-heavy, though. You don't have a ton of depth, I would say. There's not really that sleeper that you're looking for to try to, shock everybody. Is probably somebody that everybody knows already, Michael Pratt from Tulane or Spencer Rattler from South Carolina. But yeah, I mean, just like looking at it, interior defensive line, not really strong this year, more top heavy. Inside linebacker, probably not a first round inside linebacker. Peyton Wilson, maybe, but the injury history concerns, who knows. Corners are very, very good in this class. I think there are a lot of corners all over the place. And I think safeties are pretty top heavy in the second, the second day, round 2 to round 3. But the point I'm making here is that if you're trading, some fifths, you're moving those sixths, whatever, just to, move up, you move an additional third that you wouldn't have had if Raheem Morris wasn't hired, and you want to move up and get somebody in the top 10, I don't think that's a bad call. So those are my thoughts. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. You can follow me at JK Boga on all social media. Check out my new podcast episode for the Jake Ellenbogen Show, Uncensored, Unfiltered. That is going to be in the description below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. You guys take care. Later, folks.